Hey, what's up, man? How y'all doing, man? Hey, random thought. Hey, yo, when I was a kid, man, I never thought I was like. Well, I'm not gonna say I thought I was ugly or anything, but I never thought I was like anybody's, first choice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was a strong, like to me, 6. You know what I'm saying? I had big lips, big teeth. You know what I'm saying? It was just me, and I was always funny and goofy. I was always the funny friend. You know what I'm saying in the group. But you know what I'm saying? But thing was, I had crush on every girl when I was a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a crush on every fucking body. I mean, if a girl say, "Hey, Eric, how you doing today?" Oh my God, she is beautiful. And I used to go home and tell people I had fake girlfriends and all that, especially when I was a little kid. But what got me was as the years went on, man, and I'm still being everybody's friend and stuff. I never knew that there was people who actually felt me cute or attractive. Like, it was weird that I had crushes on people, but people actually had crushes on me. And then what gets me like irritated is when they tell me like when we're an adult, like, back when we was in school, I thought you was the cutest thing. I had the biggest crush on you, but I was scared to say something. Trick, why the hell didn't you? I would have said yes. Man, I would have said yes in a heartbeat back then, man. If you would have told me back then, yo, Eric, I like you, would you like me, check yes or no, damn it, it'll be 20 checks under yes. I take it. Yeah, but it was weird to me though, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I got to the place where I felt like girls really, like, in my head, was attracted to me when I got towards my, I think my teen years. I think my first, like, real relationship, like, girlfriend-wise, I was like 13, 14. But yeah, it was just weird to me that, like, that to me, when people tell you later on in your life how much they had a crush on you, and you never thought that you was that type of person, that people liked you and looked at you that way. It's weird that seeing now that people always thought that you was better than what you thought you seen yourself. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's weird, man. It's weird. So if you like somebody out there, tell them. Now, I'm married. Don't tell me. My wife will kill you. But I'm just saying, it's just weird, man. But yo, that's just my random thought. Peace. Yo, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing, man? This your boy, Eric G, and welcome to another episode of Random Thoughts with Eric G. Hey, y'all, man, I am happy to be here tonight, man. Y'all know I do my shows like every other week. But tonight I want to have a good show, man. Tonight I want to pretty much just show appreciation to all the teachers out there. You know what I'm saying? I feel like all the teachers, I feel like the teachers do work that most people wouldn't do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? For low pay, for low respect. I feel like a lot of teachers out there don't get the recognition that they deserve. And tonight, man, I want to just pay a little, you know what I'm saying, homage to these people, man. And the best way to do it is I got a couple of educators here with me tonight. And y'all just let to talk to them, ask them about their stories and their journeys, you know what I'm saying, to become an educator, whether they stopped doing it or they're currently doing it. Y'all, so let me bring in my people tonight. What's up, Tyler? Can you hear me, man?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect, man. Hold on
Wonderful.
a second. Raquel, what's up, boo?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm alive. I can't complain. Hold on a
All
second.
right. Hi, Tyler.
Hello.
Big Night, what's going on, man?
How you doing? How y'all doing?
Hey,
Well,
Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, yo, so pretty much, man, this is my teacher appreciation post. I just want to just give y'all respect because I know all of y'all do some forms of education. A lot of y'all, you know what I'm saying, have the struggle working with students. So y'all understand the system, you know what I'm saying? So before I get started, I would like for y'all to introduce yourselves, and we go from there. We'll start with Tyler. What's up, bro?
what all do you want to know about me? Because I'm a rather mysterious person, so I like to keep out of the limelight.
Well, you know, I remember me and you used to work together. We used to work together a couple years ago. So
We
I'm saying
did.
I was remember you from back then. But pretty much, like, what type of work you do in the education system?
I
Your name
teach.
and everything.
I teach at Georgia State University while I'm getting my PhD, and so I teach freshmen mainly, and teach normally the what's called a survey of U.S. history. So that's a very kind of superficial. We're going to hit all the mountaintops, as they say, and then I also teach a world history course at Georgia State. So
Okay. Okay, great. Raquel, how you doing?
I'm good. I am good. My resume is pretty long. So, my name is Raquel Royster. I'm a former educator. I taught high school business, all kinds of business courses, and then middle school computer science. I'm currently a fashion designer, a tech head here in Austin, Texas, um, author, blogger, you name it, I probably do it.
Hey, man, I respect that. Mike, what's going on, boss?
What's going on? I apologize, man. I think I keep going in and out, but my apologies, man. But yeah, I'm Michael Rice. I'm originally from Henderson, North Carolina. I'm at Vance County Middle School, health and PE. Also coach football and track. So, and man, that's what I love. Got a chance to coach, both of your sons, man. So just love what I do, man. Just passionate about everything I do for us, teaching young youth, young men, and young ladies.
Right, right. I think me and you met back when I was a mentor at the elementary school.
Ian Rollins, man. That's what I was
Yeah,
starting, man. I love elementary, man. That's what I was started. I'm passionate, especially young kids, man. So, but yeah, that's what I was started, man.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate everything you do too, man. You work really hard, brother.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and my son said that he waiting on a package from you. On what you talking about? He waiting on a
Hey,
package.
hey, he's funny, man. I think he wanted some film. I said, man, you got to send me your email, man. I'm old school, man. You got to send me something.
Yeah, he told me. You talked to Coach. He said, you got Coach Rice on tonight. I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Tell him I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I said, all
yes
right.
sir.
Hey y'all, so let's get into it tonight, man. So my thing starting out with y'all, man, just get a little bit of what led y'all to going to school or pursuing a career in education. Let's start with Tyler.
well, I always took a liking to history, mainly because I'm bad at math and science. So, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade and all that, yada yada.
Mhm.
And I found myself. I got an undergraduate degree in history education from East Carolina, and teaching was challenging to say the least for a myriad of reasons. And I decided to stay on and get my master's, and then I said, why not just go ahead and go for the whole doctoral degree?
Mhm.
And I think there's obviously a need for educators, but I wanted to pursue an even more granular understanding of certain historical topics. So that's why I decided to go to get postgraduate degrees. But yeah, I mean, I'm from Henderson. I went to Rollins, and then Eden Johnson, and then Northern Vance, and East Carolina, and then now I'm at Georgia State. But that's kind of my very boring backstory.
Hey, look, you're an educator, man. There's nothing boring about it. You know
I
what I'm
wish it was.
saying?
I wish it was more boring sometimes.
Hey, so you said you're going to get your doctorate. What
Correct.
do you still want to pursue education after?
Yes, but at the collegiate level. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, you was always smart, man. You was way smarter than me back then. We was cooking food. I was cooking food, and you was waiting.
I was busting tables. I was perfectly happy not having to talk to people out front with all their issues of like not getting the right seat they wanted, or someone writing down their order incorrectly or something.
So when did you decide to make that progression from being a busboy to being a professor?
Well, I mean that was a summer job. My older brother was also a waiter there,
Right.
kind of as a summer job as well, and so he just kind of I had the unique skill set of being able to scrape old food into a trash can, which is not something everyone can do. Years and years of practice, and so yeah, that was a
Working at a place like that, man, we had to really learn something, didn't we?
I did learn some things, but I'm not sure I'd tell management about it. But
And the sad part is we learned it from the management. But
that is true. That is true. We won't be naming any names, though.
I will. Y'all check my Facebook out later. Hey, yo. So So you said you're doing a professional. I mean, not professional as a professor.
Mhm.
What has been the challenging part of being a professor?
Well, at the university level, much like the high school level, but I think it's actually even worse at the university level. Is there's a wide disparity between abilities in the students you get because there's not even real. I mean, there are some honors kind of courses that you can have. There's an honor school probably at every university,
Mhm.
but mainly you'll get kind of everyone thrown into a course, and you'll get people who are probably a little less competent at certain uh, fields of endeavor, especially when you start getting people who are like very good at computer science, but then maybe their reading and writing skills aren't so great. And I'm sure the mathematics professors have the same issue where they probably have journalism majors who are very good at reading and writing, and they're not very good at calculus, right, or pre-cal or something. And so it's always you have to make sure that you're you're tailoring your content and the way you teach to make sure that you can try to have the majority of the students at least not be bored out of their mind. Granted, they had me as a professor, so that's probably inevitable. But
Right.
um,
I mean,
yeah, and but
but you got the same age as the students, so that's the crazy part.
I look the same age as the students. I mean, I actually had. I mean, it is a university, so I've taught people who are like 64, 65.
Okay.
So this is the age of my parents or something. So it's a little awkward, and when that happens. But yeah, but then again, teaching at the collegiate level, there are all kinds of issues that I don't have to worry about. The main one being like classroom management,
Mm.
which is something that really is a detriment to, or it's not a detriment, but it's an obstacle that a lot of primary school teachers have to worry with, and I don't really have to worry about that because
Yes.
I could just kick you out of the class and then you'll fail the class. And then you paid a
Mm.
lot of money for this class that you just failed. So I don't have any behavioral issues. So, my job is much easier in that aspect than
Because I would say it should be easier to I guess teach adults, young adults, than it is to teach high school, maybe middle school kids.
yes, it is. I would say that, really for my part, it's the pedagogy is not there.
Hmm.
So a lot of the art of like learning how to teach is not really like I don't even use PowerPoints. I just talk off the top of my head. But my content knowledge has to be supreme for the most part, and not that primary school teachers don't know what they're talking about. That's not it at all. But I'm expected to fit more into it. I'm not necessarily there to teach them as many skills.
Hmm.
They're already supposed to kind of have those. So whereas a lot of primary teachers have to spend a lot of time teaching children how to read and write, the assumption is that they know how to do that. And so what I'm there to do is to help, them understand something like the American Revolution at an even more granular level than they did when they were taking it in like a high school history course.
Right.
So again, it's there's there's more pressure put on me to really to be kind of an expert in these fields, but then there's not as much pressure put on me to make sure that they can have the fundamental kind of
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
yeah.
Like I said, I give you respect because U.S. history is my favorite subject of all times. I'm a big history major. I mean, not major. I'm a history nerd. I love it. I love
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying? And I get on my kids' nerves. I can name all the presidents, but yeah, I appreciate that, man.
It's actually difficult to do because some of them are fairly forgettable.
Oh, the thing is, you know what I'm saying? I'm just a nerd when it comes to it now. I mean, you asked me what A plus plus B plus C squared is. You're wrong.
Yeah, math is cool once they start adding like letters in there. Then it's just like like people are doing. But
It was it went all the way to hell when they started adding shapes.
Not shapes.
Raquel, Roxy, as they call them. How you doing?
Yeah. Good.
So
So
pretty much,
how I got into education.
yeah.
Oh, I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
just jump right in.
Go ahead.
I never intended to go into education. So I actually had quit my corporate job. I just needed a sabbatical. I was burnt out. I went straight into corporate from college. Worst idea ever. And one day I was just like, hey, I need a job. And I went on Indeed. And the job was just there. And so I went to do the interview. It was to teach essentials of college math, math 2, and advanced functions and modeling. And I didn't have a math background at all. I just had a master's in business. And so they were just like, well, I mean, obviously you're good at math. So I guess you could teach math. And so I did. I also taught the credit recovery courses. And then the second year I was teaching principles of business and finance and entrepreneurship one.
Mm. So you said you taught, was it straight high school students you taught, or was it just you went from middle school to high school, or was it straight high school?
So I went from high school to middle school. For middle school, I taught computer science discovery 1, 2, and 3. And I will say that middle school kids were not my cup of tea. I was not their cup of tea at all.
Oh man,
It's not my, yeah.
And Mike, I'm gonna talk to you about that because I know what school you teaching, so it's all the way here.
Hey,
But
another middle school is another level.
so Raquel, back to you. You said being a high school teacher. What were some of the problems that you faced being in your position?
So my biggest issues, it wasn't the kids, it was more so admin. The kids not being supported, the kids really not knowing what resources they had access to, because it was reserved primarily for like the higher achievers.
Yeah.
Just the kids being many adults, like they had more issues than I did at the time. I just that was my biggest issue, my biggest frustration, but definitely administration. I got in trouble quite a bit because, you know, if you know me, you know I'm a rebel. We did a silent protest, like yeah, I really, really was down for my kids.
Hey, I love that. I love that.
Like Puff Blast, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know, like I said, I know high school is that very hard transition, I guess, before you get to the adult world and what you're trying to figure out what you're gonna do with your life. So I do know I do appreciate you guiding them through that point. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not easy. I know that for a fact. I got a high school kid, and I swear I want to just throw him downstairs. But I love him. But my thing is, man, I appreciate that. Michael Rice, saying to you, man, how did you get into the education profession?
It's a great question, man. I always had a passion for sports, so I knew when I was once I got out of college, I wanted to come back to my hometown and coach, man. Like I said, been a hometown kid, man. I love football, I love sports, so physical education was the access, and I loved the kids, but physical education was tied into sports and fitness, man. So I was like, man, if I get back home, after I finish, my tenure at college, just to go back home and do that. So that's how I got into education. And then, like I said, you met me in Rollins, man. That's what I really actually fell in love with. Being like a young kid and dealing with,
right,
graders and third graders, man, they got a lot of energy. So you had to really kind of adjust just the way you teach and just kind of learning as a student teacher, but then having just being able to do it on your own, because college gives you the blueprint, but they don't give you the relationship. You have to learn that on your own. So that's how I got into it. And then from there, man, got an opportunity to, once they consolidated the schools, got a chance to coach, be the head coach. And then you talking about that transition, like she said, from going to elementary, man, when you have these kids that love to doing what they do, you just had a lot of energy to dealing with, adolescents that, that don't want to move. They just kind of been set in their way. So it was a learning process, and it still is, man, still learning.
Yeah, and I respect that too. Like I said, a lot of people don't know that I was a mentor. Well, I have my own mentor, my own organization where I mentor people, the Green Rose Foundation. And back in 2013, 2014 is when I started mentoring at the schools. And like I said, I guess when I first got there, they automatically sent the quote unquote problem kids to me. So as soon as I got there, I do a lot of peer tutoring and speaking to the kids and trying to get the kids to work out their issues. And then, like you said, Raquel, you'd be surprised how much these kids are dealing with at home. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that. It was weird. Well, not weird. I said it was actually fascinating that the kids that my first year there lost a parent before the age of 7. And I lost my mom when I was 7. So it was like I was able to communicate with them on that level. And but from there, you watch as these kids grow up, and you seen that, okay, these kids are really dealing with some real life situations at a very young age. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I commend y'all from guiding them. And I know it's not easy. I know it's never been easy to be a teacher, man. You know what I'm saying? And Tyler, with you, work with adults. has it ever been a situation where you looked at them, like you looked at this and said, I don't want to do this job no more? I'm teaching this for the birds, man.
No, I mean, adults have their own sets of issues that you have to come to them. I mean, we're all very cognizant of how important mental health is. Universities can be very, very, especially for younger students, it can all be very overwhelming. And so those are issues that students, I mean, I don't know if we saw that, looks like someone at NC State just killed themselves maybe a week or so ago, right? And so those are issues that as a faculty member, that I have to be in communication with students about, making sure that they're in the right mental space and they can feel comfortable coming to me about that stuff. And but no, there's never been, to be honest with you, there's never been a classroom issue or anything that's made me ever not want to teach at the university level. It's a lot of work on the front end. It's a whole lot of work on the front end, but I find it enjoyable. And there are really enjoyable aspects of teaching, younger students as well. But, it all just kind of depends on your own kind of temperament. And I'm probably not tempered for that, to be honest with you. That takes a very particular set of skills that I probably lack. But
Hey, so that will get kind of deep, because I like go like into depth, and then we can go and have fun a little bit. But this is for everybody. Anybody can chime in on this one. One thing about the United States is we have a very high level of school shootings, situation of depression and suicide. How do y'all? I mean, and directly, like I said, you said no longer teachable when you was. How do you speak that? I mean, have that conversation with the younger kids who could be feeling ostracized from the world, who also can feel like bullying is too much. Like, how do any one of y'all have that conversation? And like you said, Tyler, there's a lot of shootings in school in colleges. How do you have these conversations where they can feel comfortable with you and you can feel comfortable expressing it?
I'll go ahead and start on that.
I shall make.
Thank you. There's a lot. You can go ahead, Michael.
Mike, go ahead.
What I was just saying is, it's really, man, it's really interesting, man, because I mean, we do take it serious, man, as adults, being that we kind of see, like you said, we can see ahead of time, but man, a lot of middle schools, man, they take stuff as like being a joke, until it's like it really happens. But we was in this training, and they kind of showed us a video about how serious, bullying is, because they was showing, like, they was kind of targeting this one young man, and you would have assumed that it was him, but when they went back and reversed it, when they rewound the video, they showed a person that was in the back that was never seen, and they showed us this is how it all starts. Man, and that video shocked me, because you always think it's like the front person, but behind closed doors, it's the person that really never talks. It's the person that has his hoodie over. I mean, it was just like I was in shock, because I never really had seen it. Because thank God, when I was in high school and middle school, I was pretty safe. But just to see how the times have changed, like, yeah, it's really serious. So they're in the last couple of weeks, they've really been taking a hold on that, especially at the middle school, about bullying, man, because it's really been a crucial time about this situation. It's pretty deep.
Raquel?
Okay. So I was about to say, so school shootings is why I did not want to try to teach in Texas. Like, when I left North Carolina, I knew I was not going to teach anywhere in Texas, just because, like, they are really adamant about carrying weapons. Like, even at some of the colleges here, they're allowed to carry weapons, which is something I didn't know. I was like, wait, that's a bit much. But in terms of bullying, I didn't allow it in any of my classes. I didn't allow any jokes about the LGBT community, about rape, about incest. And the middle school kids, they thought it was funny. The high school kids knew how serious it was, but with the middle school kids, I didn't allow it at all. Like, you can definitely get out of my class with that kind of behavior. And of course, I tried to have as many talks as possible with them about, trying to make sure you don't make other people feel small, and there's more than just one culture in the world. I think dealing with lower income communities, because they don't have a really broad perspective of what the world is like, they only know what they know. So yeah, I just didn't allow it at all. Like none of the jokes. And I had a lot of kids open up to me about them being bullied or, you know, the things they had going on at home. That part was really, really overwhelming. But my high school kids, they had some stuff. And I just walk over to them, just say, hey, I've been in your shoes. Trust me, it gets better. And of course, I would share, you know, some of the things that have happened in my life, you know, bullying, suicide, depression. And they just felt really comfortable because it was always that, oh my God, you don't look like what you've experienced. And I was just like, I know, and you don't have to either. There are different ways, there are different options, you know. You change your mind, you change their life. So that was my spiel to them about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Tyler, now, would you dealing with, like you say, young adults, and you said that there are a lot of school shootings in colleges and stuff. How do you communicate with your students about situations like that, or do you communicate with them about that situation?
Well, it's so prominent in the news that I probably, it'd probably be redundant or, unnecessary for me to bring up school shootings.
Hmm.
And they always kind of are lingering in the background, right, hovering over everyone's head. But I don't have to worry about bullying in my classrooms. Thankfully, that's kind of more juvenile behavior, which doesn't really occur in a university setting. We may have some somewhat heated debates that I will encourage in class. Not really political, but I mean like just historical kind of debates. But as lame as that sounds, but
It's good. Man. It's all
but
good.
I'm all we do have a very robust counseling center and service at the university that I have had to refer several students to before because I thought that they were showing signs that they were having some sort of nervous or mental breakdown. And I'm always very quick to act on that. And again, we pay professionals to do this, and as a university student, you're paying for that as well through your tuition, and so you may as well take full advantage of these professionals that are sometimes just a phone call away. And I also think that at the university level, everyone's very worried about the professors not liking them. I'm not going to like them anyway. I'm just kidding. They're actually all very nice, but they've all been great students so far. Really, I can't complain about that. But every once in a while, I have to tell them to relax a bit. Just because you missed maybe one assignment, or just because you were 10 minutes late to class. Like, don't have a freak out or meltdown about it. It's not the end of the world. And sometimes I think the students they're a little wound. They're wound a little too tight. And actually, it's interesting to get that contrast because I'm sure both of you have had the acquaintance with students who are not wound tight enough and who don't care at all, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's a totally different scenario, right? Where you wish they would care a little bit. Whereas sometimes in university, especially when you get like the A students, right, and then they were A students all through high school, and then you get them at university, and they're wound just slightly too tight, and they need to relax just a little bit, So, but yeah, never be afraid to refer someone to some sort of medical or health, mental health professional, because that's what they're there for.
Yeah, man, I love that too. So I'm gonna talk about something right there. I don't know, Raquel, you were still teaching at this point, but talk about something that seems so long ago, but wasn't so long ago. COVID. We all experienced COVID 2020. You know what I'm saying? It took on the world. And then it went to a place where as parents had to become teachers, and I think my son almost failed. But look, but, yo, but I don't know how they made it, but they made it. But they passed, thank God. But COVID, man, COVID pretty much put a pause to the world, and when all the kids still had to try to figure out their own way of learning. How was that experience for y'all? I mean, trying to make lesson plans on Zoom and try to learn Zoom. You didn't do it before. And Raquel, like I said, with you went if you wasn't. I don't know if you were still teaching at that time or not, but how was that? How was that transition in that life at that time? In your life at that time? I just don't anybody on this one.
During COVID, so I
Yeah,
had just moved to Texas.
yeah.
Oh, 2 weeks before the shutdown, I had just moved to Texas. So I actually had a job as a middle school tutor when I first moved to Texas, and it was interesting. the kids here were definitely different. One of my students was in the 6th grade. He had really extreme behavioral issues, and he would just do things like he took his braces off in class, like on some other stuff. Like I don't know what was happening, if it was COVID brain fog or whatever, but yeah, that was a rough experience. But they just shut everything down. Like initially here in Texas, they shut everything down, and then slowly but surely everything opened back up. So I didn't get any of that, and I'm glad, because I can't imagine having to do lesson plans and keep the kids from touching each other and telling them to wear their masks and preventing them from fighting and sending them. It would have been too much.
All right, Mike. What about you, man? Now, let me tell you now. If anybody don't know about the Vance County Middle School, and y'all, because it's way different than it was when we was in school. This middle school is like no holds bar. How was it teaching during COVID?
Level. Well, during COVID, man, it kind of helped me because during COVID, man, we really couldn't have like hands-on activities or whatever. So, man, it pushed me to learn more. I mean, because I always am a believer that when you talk about health and PE, man, health is pretty much more than the physical aspect of it. So, it took me a lot of like me relearning like about health. I had students, especially the 8th grade kids, as one was they were moving on to high school. I had them hop in the zone, man. But yeah, it's man, COVID helped me learn more about health or relearn, my aspect of health. But yeah, man, other than that, man, you know about it, man. It's like in and out, sign in, make sure you at class. You have, and when I first started, I had to kind of monitor other classrooms, man. And you know how you had people fake names, signing in for other people, man. So it was a different experience, man. And those, unfortunately, like COVID, man, they're kind of unlearning and relearning things right now. Like they're still kind of getting back into the aspect of like school, like every day. And it's still a process, man. So that I think, you had kids that missed 2 years of school, like they didn't never log in, they never do no work. Like, and they moved up, but they, their minds was
Still stuck. Yeah.
it was different, man.
Tyler, now college level, how was COVID during? Now I think that should be more easier in college. I think like, look, all right, now you grown, you can go to class. You can come to class, don't go. That's different. How was the college level situation during COVID?
Well, for a field of endeavor like history, especially for students who there's an assumption that you're going to be doing a lot of work on your own, and that you can do a lot of work on your own. So it's not like a chemistry lab where it's almost impossible to have a virtual chemistry lab, right? But for history, if you just need to read some short pamphlet or something from I don't know, the Protestant Reformation that I've posted online, you could do that at your own leisure in your own dorm room or apartment. And so we had it in a way a lot easier because, again, the assumption is that you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, however old. You should be able to do this stuff without someone holding your hand, and I don't mean that in a derisory way, but I just mean, obviously younger children need guidance on that kind of stuff. They need hands-on learning, but with us, it wasn't as bad. All we had to do was basically have these exigency plans, like, or contingency plans, or whatever you want to say. But what happens if half the class winds up getting COVID or something, or if the professor gets COVID, what do you do? But it wasn't as big of a deal for us. Georgia State was relatively lax on their COVID policy, so we didn't really we shut down for a little bit, right? When did COVID hit? March 2020, something about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but by the time we had got back to what would be fall 2020, we were already kind of going. Some people were starting to go back to class. Some of them, and that was left up to professors' discretion, as is most things. So, and it was a little bit more manageable, and then it just kind of released from there. So, again, it wasn't as bad. I mean, you can listen to a lecture online. A lot of people do. You can go on YouTube and find very good lectures, actually, from world-class professors, unlike me, right? You can actually go listen to really good professors for free, which is also something that I think the universities also are not too, they're not too happy about, because people are starting to understand that there actually is a lot of free education you can get out there. Now, granted, the accreditation part that's the kicker, because universities hold the accreditation process. But as far as learning about the Civil War, there's a lot of really good free things on the internet that could teach you just as well. So,
I mean, I say this right. Like I said before, history is my favorite subject, and I feel like I learned the most from me being in class. Maybe because I'm old school now. I'm like, we're in our 30s now, so we old as kids. So I learned a lot from actually being in class, and plus my dad, my biggest punishment when I was a kid, my dad used to make me read the encyclopedia. So that was a punishment for me. So that's how I learned about the presidents. I was always in trouble. but yo, so we're gonna move on to something a little fun. So now, but y'all, I love that each one of y'all had taught a different form of schooling. I love that I can get the aspects from each point. So to start a little something fun. Y'all can answer this if you want to. How was it? How is it? I mean, y'all different grades. You ever had a student try to come on to you? No,
I'll
okay,
go first.
Raquel's the model, so I already know what's going on with this.
So yeah, I made it very clear that I didn't play those games. I made it very clear to my male students that I box, specifically kickboxing, and I will kick you in the throat. And I just made it clear how important it was, especially for my young African American students, male students. Like, you protect Black women. Like, you don't, come at them sideways. You put some respect on it. That was the biggest piece for me. And I think once I came in the door and I established that, they looked more to me like a big sis or an auntie that was just full of wisdom. But I didn't have any students make any passes or anything. Of course, I heard the remarks and people were being slick or whatever, but I think they respected me enough to know, like, I will kick you in the face. So yeah, that's how it was for me.
In the face, gosh.
In the face.
Now,
if you heard it, then they weren't being that slick, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
just
I didn't want to give it more attention than what it deserved.
Let me tell y'all, man, kids think that we don't know nothing. So they be doing stuff that we just the dumbest people in the world.
Right.
All right, so Tyler, what about you now? Now, like I said, you about the age of your college students now. Unless you got Miss Gregory who's 65 trying to holler at you, man. In that case, then make sure my wife ain't listen. Tell her send her my way. But look, what about you?
Well, obviously for me, there's the removed aspect of illegality, right? Because obviously everyone is a full-blown consenting adult, so there's obviously not anything that you really have to worry about in that. But I mean, I'm famously bad at picking up on signs, so I wouldn't really know if they were hitting on me or not. They're probably not. I don't know. It's again, if they have, it hasn't been obvious enough for me to obviously be able to pick up on it. I would hope that they would try to avoid that kind of activity. They could just read the textbook, and that'd be the easier way of getting a good grade, right? Because
all right, Mike. Now, let me tell you, me and you have a situation was kind of different because, like I said, we both was at the elementary school together at the same time. So I think at that age, all little kids have a crush on their teacher. So
yeah, no, and everybody, like, all the kids love P. Like, you my favorite teacher. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we all had that situation.
Favorite subject, like, yeah, but no, man, I've heard that. I've heard stories, but not middle school level. Not yeah, like you said, man, people respect you for who you are. And I tell, I mean, to be honest, I tell kids, like, nobody's one dimensional, and I tell the kids, you have to get to know me. So I come in like very like straightforward, and then I'll kind of ease back, and they say, Coach Rice, he'll be cool with you, but when he mean business, really he means it. So yeah, nobody really has ever like tried to do that. But like I said, I heard stories, man. We've heard all in the news that people get a little too acquainted with with their students and end up losing out on their career. Think, man, you gotta use wisdom, man. I love what I do. I love teaching, and I don't want that. I think we all want good names, man. We want good reputation, so I don't want that stigma on me. But yeah, we've heard it, man. Unfortunately, You know, they had that fun, but it cost them, their family and their livelihood. So
The reason I brought the question up because there's so many
Yeah.
cases that I've seen where there are teachers who's in their 20s or whatever, and they're in they can't resist the high school kid or whatever. And my thing to me is sick. It's kind of sick to me. You know what I'm saying? But I was trying to figure out like I remember when I was like mentoring kids up because I mentor kids up until they got to middle school, and you had little girls want to come and hold your hand all of a sudden, or they want to come and hug you. Like, hold up, wait a minute. I don't need you to even do that. You got to back up.
like at middle school, I mean, they, because they see on your daily. Even with me, man, what young girls, I always kind of give them the side like church hug, like, yeah, how you doing? I don't really, I always trying to keep it professional because man, someone's always watching, man. Middle, they record everything. They record fights. They record you walking to the bathroom. They would do it. They do it all, man. So you never want to be caught in that, in that predicament.
Oh man,
I was just about to say, to add to that, like even when I had like after school sessions or kids just wanted to hang out, my door is open. You can see directly into my classroom. I'm sitting into my desk. I was always cognizant of those things because I never wanted anybody to think that anything other than what it looked like. Like, hey, they're just hanging out. It's nothing like that. But with the hugs, of course, I did the church hug too. But I also had to keep in mind, like, I was the only hug some of these kids got.
Yeah.
So that's something I had to be mindful of, especially like, young Black people. Like, people don't hug. They don't hug in homes. They don't hug, nope. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, it's funny, like, it just happened today. Like, we were exiting out, and you talk about hugs. We was exiting out, and like usually all the former players that I have, they'll give everybody a handshake. So instead of he was giving his homeboy a handshake, but instead of coming, like, I was the last person. He didn't really, he wasn't looking. So he came in and he kind of gave me a hug. He was like, "Oh, Coach Rice, what am I doing?" I said, "No, man, you can give me a hug, whatever. Come on." So he's like, "Nah." I was like, but it was funny. Like, he didn't really, he wasn't. I said, but that's true that they really don't hug. It's like more of a cool thing. Like, don't. And you know how guys are. They just kind of real prideful. So it was funny that happened. I was like, dude, man, y'all know you can give a hug, but I was joking. But it's really true. They don't hug. They kind of shy away from it. So that was cool.
Right. One thing I want to speak to about, because I think a lot of people don't talk about too, and Tyler, so it might be different in your level. That's really been big here in North Carolina is pay for teachers. I do think that's one thing that a lot of people don't. I mean, it's kind of hush hush because a lot of people trying to keep the jobs and they don't want to like disturb anything. And I remember back when I was mentoring, it was a day that where all the teachers pretty much didn't come to school, and they went into it. They had a protest. It was downtown Raleigh. And so my question to all y'all is, how do y'all try to battle with that line of, like you said, we're not getting paid enough to do this? How do y'all deal with it? Or do y'all try to keep like finding different professions, or y'all try to fight for more pay? What do y'all do?
I think it's more.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, being that I'm not a teacher, because of course the pay is horrible. Being that I'm in the tech industry, if you are in education and you're looking for money, education tech is the move. Like, you can teach people how to use Zoom, technical writers, trainers, learning and development managers. That's where the money is. And I'm talking like six figures. So a lot of teachers are transitioning from the classroom to the platforms. So
hey, I need to go ahead and change my job. I got you.
Right. But that's the fact that, and I always tell because I mean, granted, I'm in health and PE, man, so some kids feel so it's like a free fall. But I tell the core teachers, man, kudos to them, man, because I just know for me, I just know I can't be in a classroom all day, just trying to be the counselor, be the teacher. You got so many different types of like personalities. So I mean, unfortunately, the teachers are underpaid. But I know back then, when we was in school, man, we had teachers in it for like 40 years, and they did it because they loved it. Like, we had teachers that we kind of knew, especially when I was at Northern. I mean, we had teachers that just loved what they did, and it wasn't like no phones. It wasn't a lot of fighting. It was just like kind of love. Like, back then, like, people would fight, and then it would just be over. Like, people would just move on, have fun. But now, like,
the students were better.
Students were better, yeah. We just had, it was more like, I mean, it's still sociable. It's more the phones are in the way, but it's like now teachers doing so much, they deserve it, and they deserve 6 figures because they're dealing with a lot. They're trying to be the counselor. They're trying to be the therapist. They're trying to be everything. And it's just not. And one thing is they took I know for elementary, they took the TAs out, man. And that, I mean, the TAs was the kind of the backbone of the classes, man. So yeah, you're right, man. I know the teachers. I know we did get a raise, but and I know that there was a lot of conflict about that because some teachers, especially the long tenure teachers, didn't feel like they got what they deserved.
Tyler, what about you, boss?
Well, I mean, it's obviously a bit different of a pay scale at the university level. It also depends on what university you're working for and what department you find yourself in. That, depending on, you can make quite a bit of money at the university level, but also that depends on how many graduates do you have. How many people do you have enrolling in your business class or in or going to the business school, right? So, also there's things like tenure and all kinds of stuff like that all kinds of ways that you can compete for employers because in education doesn't really work in a free market that way. I mean, compulsory education's been here in North Carolina since 1907, if I remember correctly. So I mean, obviously it's mandated, so therefore you automatically have to multiply the amount of teachers that you need. But when it comes to pay, obviously teachers don't get paid very well. I think according to basically everyone's metric. But the issue is that, well, how are you going to pay for it? And I would also say that there probably needs to be 2 or 3 times the amount of teachers that there are, because some of these skill sets that children don't really have, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, is because teachers need to be working with smaller groups of students. Which is why you will have a lot of people who wind up going to fairly prestigious universities went to fairly prestigious private schools, right, where they could have teachers that could work, not one-on-one, because I mean, you could always hire private tutors if you have stupid amounts of money, which is what people did back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. But if you only have 10 people in your class, it's a lot easier to teach reading and writing, right? Mm-hmm. It's also a lot easier for the teachers to grade, right, which is something that teachers have to really worry about doing, right? Is
I'm sorry to cut you off. But I was saying that I do know that nowadays we have a problem with the oversize of kids in classes now, and you can't teach the kids like you should. Like I said, we also have a problem where I feel like there are teachers nowadays who really just don't care, who really don't care, who don't want to show these kids the attention that they need. And don't get me wrong, it's very hard to do it when you got 25, 30 kids in your class. It's very hard to show them all attention. But I do feel like we do have a line of 2 teachers who don't care anymore. And that's because we have a lack of pay, lack of respect, and lack of resources. And I do feel like that I think that if we give I think as countrywide, if we can get some kind of incentive to these teachers, we can actually have kids who want to be teachers now. Kids who want to kids who want to move forward with that career. I do feel like that being a teacher is kind of is like a thankless job, and no one really understands it. That makes sense to everybody.
You gotta love. I mean, education in different aspects, but you gotta love it, man. If you don't love it, like you said, you're not going to stick with it. And as she said, back then, I know a lot of kids say, "Man, Coach Rice, I mean, we have all these teachers. They come, especially I was coaching at the before we consolidated. They had a lot of the high schoolers say, "Man, we don't have teachers just kind of stay around. They always leave." And I said, because you got to look at it, man. Back then, it was like those teachers love to do it, but now it's like adults, man, they don't want to be stressed, man. So they say, I don't want to be going to class every day trying to tell such and such to sit down. So I'm going to go a different path so they can be free, man, because you want to enjoy what you do. You want to enjoy your career. And if you go home thinking about I'm gonna get this class to do this and do that, people are just kind of they're just kind of letting it go and like moving, like she said, moving to a different career.
Right. And so a little bit of what you just said right there is, how do y'all not take y'all work home? Because I know a lot of y'all have families, y'all have friends. How do y'all not take the stress of your job home as an educator? Any one of y'all, if y'all want to start.
Man, I love my life.
Yeah.
So I made it about me, like I never wanted to take work home, like, because teachers, man, like they really have mental breakdowns about, how can I make this class, do what I want them to do. And like I said, I'm not in the core teaching like the ELA and the math and things like that. But even when I first started with elementary school kids, I being a student teacher, I was kind of stressed because I was like, I had Head Start kids that didn't want to sit there, but I kind of worked at it. And then once I got it, I took it to a point where my class was leveraged, so I can take this away because this is a elective period. But once I start taking what they wanted and kind of taking more of their time away, then they listen. And of course, classroom management is a big thing. I really think, honestly, any teacher, you really at least have to spend at least a week to 2.5 weeks on classroom management, setting a system. Because they tell you to do that, but if you do it for 3 days, you don't have a system. So that classroom management is key to doing that. And if not, that's what
my son made a comment on thing. He said, "Students are bad. Me personally, I'm not." But
yeah, he's a good guy.
yeah, he better be. We got a problem at home if you don't. But like I said, man, I appreciate that too. I know it's hard. I know it can get hard with trying to balance your life and being a teacher. You know what I'm saying? So I respect it. All of y'all who do that. Everything good, Tyler? I know you looking like something wrong. I thought something wrong.
No. I was just trying to use my brain, which doesn't work very, very often. So
Hey, I feel like once I'm off the clock, mine shut down. Hey, so move on to a little bit something a little more better. We coming up on an hour. So everybody from Vance County. So how did y'all feel when we have one middle school and one high school? How y'all think that transition was for y'all when y'all seen that or experienced that?
I'll go for me because I'm so far away from home now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a little emotional when I do go back home because everything's changed. I know my brother is still there and at the school, and I'm just like, well, why did they consolidate? Like, it just didn't make sense to me that they were making these changes. But I get it. From what I see, on my timeline on Facebook, like big things are coming, big things are happening. I figured that something was up when they moved to Starbucks. They said they were bringing the Starbucks, so I was just like, oh, okay, so I see what's about to happen, and I don't know if Vance County is really prepared for what that's going to look like citywide. Like when those type of things start happening, like you're going to start getting a bigger city, and I'm a small town girl myself. A lot of people are not going to like it. They are not going to be ready for what comes with it. And only having one high school, one middle school, is probably going to be really problematic when more people are trying to escape the hustle and bustle of like Raleigh and Durham and start moving that way. It's going to change.
That's what I'm scared of. What about Michael Tyler? How about y'all? The consolidation of both schools. Y'all, like I said, I went to Ian Johnson, so that's no longer a school
Me
for
too.
me. I remember you went, yeah.
I speak for that.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Mike, you're.
Oh, I said Tyler, if you want to speak, go ahead. Sorry about that.
So is Starbucks now the canary in the coal mine? Is that what we're saying? This is the when it dies, there's not enough oxygen. Is that okay? Yeah. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Starbucks, but yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, things always change, right? So they'll have to wind up going back to two high schools or two middle schools if more people move into the area. But my question is that if there's only one high school, like, what are you going to fight over at the football game, right? Like this, they got to fight over something, right? You may as well fight over Northern and Southern Vance, right? You have to start confecting reasons to fight.
All right, now Mike, same thing with you.
They'll find anything to fight over, man.
I was gonna say.
But speaking of that, man, I was kind of in the middle of that transition, man, because when they start looking for coaches or whatever, like I said, my desire was to stay in Rollins, but I moved with the transition. And at that time, I think, and I can share this. At the time, I think we as we, as you know, being born and raised in Henderson, man, we just love that tradition, man, that rivalry with EJ, HMS, Northern, Southern, and then a part of that got kind of stripped away from us or whatever, because at the time when they were moving it and they was doing all that, they was moving to schools or whatever, you didn't really see it. But now, like you guys are speaking of, at the time I think it was a decision they made because the lack of students and people were making different schools, making private schools, and a lot of people were moving. But that transition is now, I mean, it's really become different because more kids are coming back, and more families are moving here, and it's like an overcrowded. So, I think when they first consolidated, I can just speak for this. When I first got to the middle school, people was kind of worried about, you know, HMS and E. Johnson, you know, students going against each other, but it was like the same students from the same school, like against themselves. And I was like, man, I was like, well, they was worrying about that, but it was the other way around. Like it was still beef from, did y'all go to the same school? I was like, but I don't like her. I don't like him. I was like, but so, I mean, it was a transition, but after, I think COVID kind of stopped it. So now the aspect where, it's going to take another 2 to 3 years to kind of get those wave of kids, because we're dealing with our last of the 8th graders are the COVID students, and then when it keeps going up, the next couple students, the 6th, 7th, 8th graders, these will be kids that never knew about Northern and Southern, never knew about EJ, HMS. They were babies. So, and so yeah, it's gonna be a transition, but I think just the overcrowding of students now, and then you have no options if you come to Vance County for high school and middle school. If you don't like it, either you're gonna go to the HC, Henderson Collegiate, or Warrenton or Oxford. So that's pretty much it. Moving away.
You know, I remember when we first had that transition, man. I remember I was having a conversation with my oldest son, because he was coming from the 5th grade to the 6th, his first year. And I say the fear that they had in their hearts at that time.
It was
y'all, let me tell you, it was scary. Them kids was scared. Look, they said it's gonna be a fight every day.
Yeah, I mean, it was man, it was a transition for everybody. I mean, everybody was just like, man, how this is gonna look? And the thing about it, man, working in a middle school, man, the thing about it is it's perception versus reality, man. You hear stuff about, oh man, you work at the middle school, and man, granted, the kids, man, we got some good kids, man. And I always say, being in the building, I mean, you see the fights, you see the camera, you see stuff that's going inside. But if you actually in the building, there's some good things going on. But sometimes this stuff get overshadowed. You know, man, we're a small town. You know, Henderson is a small town, so everybody, they hear everything, man. Once something happen, you hear about it. But overall, I think we're trying. But Henderson, being that we was raised in Henderson, is a good place, man. I love my community, and I always say, hey man, if you can't love and do stuff for your own community, man, and you trying to go out and do other things out in the world, you know, this is where we're from. So, I love my hometown. We all have issues, but you know, just still growing and learning, man.
That's true. All right, so next thing I'm gonna say real quick, because I got one more question after this one. So me being a mentor, I form a lot of relationships with kids, and it's kind of like amazing to me to see them now. Like I think the kids I first had is in high school, 10th, 11th grade now. So y'all done y'all profession, and like I said right here, now you done left the profession. How is it forming those relationships over time? And like Rice, I know that you are like a football star to these kids. They love you. Your football players love you. And like I said, how does it form this relationship with them as they go on? And do you still like keep in contact with the kids that y'all had before? Tyler, say that with you. Do you ever in contact with students you had before? Now that they have moved on past you?
Yes, I'll go ahead and start with that. So it's a really funny story. So after I left the high school, and I think after I stopped teaching in general, I found my kids on Instagram. Right after I left, after some of my kids graduated, I allowed them to follow me on social media. And one of my kids actually called me on Instagram video because his girlfriend had just had a baby and he wanted me to see. And I hadn't seen this kid in like 3 years. And I was just like, dude, why did you call me? And she's just in the back like, hey, I've heard so much about you. And I'm like, why are you still talking about me? He was like, I just wanted you to be proud of me. And I was like, yo, like that's really crazy. But I keep tabs on all of my kids. Sometimes they go live and I'll just pop in and be like, hey, how's life? And they're like, oh my God, Miss Royster. It's much easier. I don't have any of my middle school kids, but most of my high school kids, they follow me. They follow the journey, and I just wanted to remind them, like I told you guys, I was dope in real life, and now you get to see. So and they know I still have students reaching out for recommendations, letters of recommendations, character references, and they know, I'm all about mental health. If you're having an issue, anything's going on, I'm still here. Like, teaching is a lifelong thing, and I still think about my kids. Like, are they okay? Have they eaten? Do they know how to fill out a W-2 form? Like, it's mentally taxing, especially at the high school level, because they're older and you already know what's waiting for them when they graduate.
Tyler, what about you, boss? Because you got, like I said, you got grown people now. So what do you? How do you still stay in contact?
Well, sometimes they don't act so grown, but that's normally when they don't know anything that happened before 2003. Yeah, having to explain what 9/11 is a little bit tricky. Like, oh yeah, that's right, you weren't born yet. But they're still in college, which is a very weird feeling. I don't normally have many of them. I mean, once they're done with me, I don't blame them. They don't want to talk to me anymore. I mean, just get out while you can. But I will have some of them reach out to me every once in a while to write them letters of recommendation. If I can recommend them for certain scholarships or to get into honors college, I'm happy to do that kind of stuff. But I don't. Sometimes one of them may ask me about some obscure reference to, I don't know, Jean-Jacques Rousseau's philosophy or something, and I can give them a book recommendation. But other than that, not really. So I don't have any good stuff. I don't have any, like, someone told me that they had, I don't have any, like, baby Skype videos like Bell does. I'm sorry to be the boring one here, but
it's all right, man. I mean, don't give it time, man. Someone have a baby in your class.
I'm gonna put that in my syllabus next time I have. Do not Skype me when you have a child, because I'm not going to respond.
I can see it now.
I make the syllabus. I can write anything in there I want.
All right, Mike.
Well, man, I'm getting better for us. The relationship part of, after they leave the middle school. Because I feel like, I don't, like I tell the teachers, man, I don't like really hovering over my kids, man, because I want them to get that kind of learning experience. But every time I kind of see you guys, you and your wife in passing or previous families, you guys, man, people know how hard I work, man, and I love what I do. And the kids will tell you, man, like Coach Rice, man, it's a different Coach Rice. You either gonna get the physical education coach, or you're gonna get like football coach. They know it's two different people. So, I tell them undimensional, but just to see, like you say, like, guys are prideful. You don't kind of hear it, but I'll get a message here. I mean, narrowed in on Instagram or something like Coach Rice, man. I know I didn't.
You froze up, boss.
The message kind of these, kids at Walmart and different things. They remember, it's like, oh man, you that coach. Like, yeah, I remember you. So it's cool to get those experiences. But it's my goal to kind of go beyond, especially when they get to start getting recruited for like high school, college, and hopefully maybe have some kids in the pros. But I'd never be surprised when I hear about especially like THEIE doing well in like football. It don't surprise me. Like, man, I coached him. Granted, like the position he's doing now, but I knew he had it, and that's just just want to. A lot of kids are entitled now. They want the prize, but they don't really want to work at it. So it's always good to hear about kids doing well in sports, because Vance County has good talent, man. So,
and I tell everybody the same thing. I think Vance County is the most talented place you will ever visit. It just our talent is overlooked by a lot of BS.
It's overlooked, man. It's overlooked, and I think I applaud you, the parents, because sometimes a lot of people depend on coaches to do stuff, but no, it's right these times, because with social media and with Twitter and all these, man, the parents have to make their kids get more exposure. I mean, the coach they're gonna make the calls, but I mean, it's up to the inner circle, man. Those people that the kids or the athletes see every day. So yeah, it's big though, man. I've taught, and coached a lot of, good athletes, and looking forward to getting some tickets, man, when they make it to the league.
Hey, yo, so
I actually have a student that he plays for TCU, Jamoy Hodge. He was one of my students, and he plays. I was like, that's kind of dope. Like, I remember when I was failing you because you weren't getting your work done, and you tried to get me to like hook you up. And I was like, no, you need to do your work. I don't care that you got football going on. Like, you need to think beyond football. Like, so yeah, I do have a student that plays professionally
in Texas. So that they eat, breathe, and sleep football at the 5-year-old level.
Yeah,
So,
I put my sons in there when they was in middle and they was in elementary, man. They've been hooked on ever since. But yeah, one thing, Tyler, I'm getting a little sappy story too, man. So I got to make mine. Got to put my little stuff in there. I still have kids that I miss were from Ian Rollins. Now they're in high school, and like it's weird. Like you get them once in a while, like chats, the messages every once in a while, like, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Eric?" or whatever. And the follow up on these kids' life and see where they at now. To me, it's like it takes me away, man. Cause I'm like I said, I ain't like for me to be as big as I am. I'm soft when it comes to the kids, man. So to see to see them kids like progress so much, and especially because like I said, I had the quote unquote problem kids. To see where they at now is amazing. Before I finish the day, I do have to say I did lose one of the kids I had. Rosendo. Yeah.
Man, Rosendo, he was a good kid, man.
Rosendo was actually one of my mentees I had from second grade until I think fifth grade, but he had left by then. We stayed in contact a lot. We stayed in contact a whole lot. I talked to him yesterday up until around that time. So he lost. He went on. But yeah, like I said, other than that, man, like I said, I still send love to all those kids, and like I said, I appreciate all y'all forming some type of bond with your students because it's hard to have that. It's very hard to have that. So we move on to the last thing is, do y'all remember y'all being in school? Who was y'all favorite teacher? Who was somebody that made y'all say, "Look, this is what I want to do," or at least she was cute. Whatever happens.
I think about that one.
Well, I'm in it now, man. One of my favorite teachers, man, was Miss Rotolo. She was at Dabney Elementary. And so that was my passion, and man. And all the games that we did, especially took it to N. Rollins, man, like Newcomb, and I mean, we played that game still at the middle school, man. That's like the hallmark of like Vance County, man. We're gonna play Newcomb, like we done made that a tradition, so I never forget that, man. And it is so yeah, her guidance, and that's why I started, man. Miss Rotolo is one of my favorite, and there's more. And then one of my favorite principals was Mr. Grissom. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ian Rollins.
I know for me, so I went to New Hope. So most of my teachers are still there. Like a few of my teachers are still there, surprisingly, and they remember me. So my favorite teacher was Miss Boati in second grade. Like that woman just poured so much into me. Like I don't know why. Like I got to pass out papers more often. Like just her giving me these extra responsibilities and privileges. Like really nurtured the leader that I am. I think in middle school it was Miss Kendrick. She was really hard on me when it came to math. And then everybody loved Mr. Pierce, teaching English at North Advance. I hated the fact that he thought Emily Dickinson was the greatest American poet, but he really solidified my love for literature. He did.
I appreciate that. Tyler, what about you, man? Who was a teacher you look back on and said, "Oh, how about this right here?" Because my dad always told me that there's two people you will always remember in your life. It's your favorite teacher and the worst teacher. If you can name one of the two.
Well, the worst teacher. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be the politician here and dodge the question because by implication, if I start naming the people I don't name, then I didn't like. And I actually still know quite a few of my teachers. I actually didn't have Dwight Pierce. Unfortunately, he retired, I think, right before I would have been able to actually take him. But he's still up. He's still kicking. We're all still kicking, possibly not as high as we used to, but I would probably say two of the best teachers that I've had probably would be my two mentors that I had at university. So the one that helped me do my master's thesis and the one that's currently helping me do my doctoral dissertation, because they helped me really understand how to really write on that kind of level that I hadn't had to do. And that takes a lot of time that they can afford to do because they're at the university level, right? That's what they're paid to do. Obviously, teachers a lot of times can't do that. But really taking a lot of time to help me kind of perfect to a certain extent. Nothing's perfect, but my writing and I had good reading skills, but obviously like writing is a very time intensive thing. And so that would be Dr. Hernandez at East Carolina and Dr. Moore at Georgia State in Atlanta, right? Georgia State University. So shout out to them.
Hey, y'all. Two of mine would be my my first grade teacher would be at, I think, LBNC. Her name was Miss Renee Jones. Was a great teacher. From there on, when I was in college, I had I would say young lady, Miss Poole, who really pretty much she got on me because I started college late, so I didn't go straight to college after high school. And she got on me because she like I was too smart to waste my time. And that was my thing. Was she always told me that she didn't understand why I didn't go straight to college. And I was telling her, I said I had a hard life and stuff going on. She didn't understand why. She's like, you got so much skills that you wasted not doing nothing with. So she actually pushed me forward to like, okay, let me go on and finish my business degree and go on from there. And listen, I appreciate those two. So those two women that really, really ushered like what made an impact in my life. I appreciate both of them. Before we get ready to go, because we're over an hour now, so I'm just going to go ahead and just want each one of y'all to tell what are y'all future endeavors? What are y'all doing now? What is y'all planning on doing from here? Ladies first, Mark, because you start this off every time, baby girl. So you
Okay. So for me right now, I would like to close the techno literacy gap. I think that, but of course, to do that, I have to close the literacy gap. I realize that most people don't have really good comprehension skills. So it's hard to give people what you don't have. A lot of parents that, aren't capable of educating their kids. The kids are teaching their parents how to use technology. Everybody needs to learn how to use technology because it's the future. It's here. So just closing that gap, I think that especially within our community in Vance County, there's so much more opportunity, but people just don't know how to use the technology, or they don't understand it, or they have a fear of it. So that's my new mission. And just honestly empowering people, teaching people how to use skills that can generate income, like picking up a sewing machine last year for the first time. I never saw myself being a fashion designer, and here I am. So just teaching those kind of skills, like, everybody wants to, shop Fashion Nova. And I'm just like, well, why don't you just design your own stuff? Be different. These are skills that can change your life, literally.
Right.
So those are my future endeavors.
We can't forget now that you was an author. So we go ahead and shout your book out too now, because I love
I am a 2-time author. So one of the books, Museum of Thought, Poetic Perspectives from Adolescence, was a collection of poetry that I wrote from age 13 to 21. So some of those poems I wrote when I was in school, like it was really, really dark times. And then the second one is Corporate America, I've Had Enough of You, where I quit my corporate job right before I went into education. Of course, I have my blog, all sorts of things. So yeah, education is, I can't get away from it. I just change how I work in it.
Hey, respect. Tyler, what about you, boss?
Hopefully I'll finish my dissertation and turn it into my first book that I'll put out through some university press, hopefully Chicago or Johns Hopkins or something like that. And then I'll probably start on another book, and I will just be making references and bad jokes that no one gets while trying to teach them about United States history or European history, which is actually my major field of concentration. And maybe I'll move back to North Carolina. All my family's here. Maybe I can get a job at university here. That'd be great. But if not, then I will go where the jobs are, as everyone kind of knows, right? So
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Hey, respect, man. Respect. All right, Big Mike. What about you? And what about you, boss? Sorry.
Same thing, man. Hopefully, I'll still continue to coach, man. As you can see, man, discover greatness sports performance, man. That's my ultimate dream, to have my own sports facility. I'm still training kids, but it's a training service that designed to design physical training programs for athletes to enhance athletic qualities, maximize athletic development for speed and agility. Because, like I said, we have great athletes, but I think it has to be more training and development to the aspect of, you know, how can you perform better in such sports. So that's my ultimate goal, man. To because I know a lot of kids have a desire to go to college in sports or to the next level, and it's going to take some training. And I can see it firsthand. My one of my second cousins, Marquise Rice, MJ Rice, he played for Kansas University, and just talking to his dad, you know, it's to get to that level, man, on the national stage. It's a lot of training, and I'm talking about no AAU. I'm talking about like one-on-one, being alone in the gym. So that's what I want kids to see to get to that level out of Henderson, man, because they can change your whole lifestyle for their families and things like that.
Like, so what do you say about kids who always want to, like, they think their goal is D1? Everybody saying if it ain't D1, it doesn't matter.
And the thing about it, and I wish, and I mean, this is a whole nother podcast, but when it comes to D1, man, there's, and I can't name it, I can't think of the website, but when it comes to kids going D1, man, if you go to a website, it lists what the qualifications are to be a D1 athlete, like your the size, your height, GPA, things like that. And a lot of times, you know, kids, they may be a great athlete, they may be D1 potential, but man, they may be playing quarterback. And if you're trying to go D1 as a quarterback, you need to be at least 6'2", 6'3", and then their dreams get deterred because, you know, they didn't go that. But like I said, man, it's always JUCO, it's always it's always Division II. I tell kids, don't get so caught up in that, man, because to be at a D1 school on a national level, man, it takes a lot of work.
Yes.
Like you said, exposure.
Yes.
It just don't. They get destroyed and they just don't have it in. Come back. It's just their dream. So it's ways to do it other than just going D1.
Yeah, I had to tell my son that because he's actually down here now trying to tackle the air. But anyway,
Yeah. No, man, tell him he got time, man. He got a whole one more year.
well, my oldest son is the game. My youngest son, he got 4 years. He got a while. But yeah, look, y'all, I'm closing up everything, man. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for being a part of this. You'll say, I'll tell everybody, y'all made my dream come true. I love podcasting. You know what I'm saying? That's a great experience. And y'all, man, look, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. I'm gonna go ahead and break down where I'm from, everything about me. Yo, this your teacher's pet, Eric G. Yo, you can find me on all platforms, Random Thoughts with Eric G. Y'all can find this episode and many more on YouTube. I'm also on Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon. If you name it, I'm on it. I'm on Google, Apple, everything. Y'all, man, so I appreciate it, man. And like I always say, y'all, God bless you. Peace.
Thank you. Enjoyed it, man. Enjoyed y'all.
Thank you.
You done?